Hey, welcome to 1500 ESPN. I'm Derek Wetmore, and this is Phil Mackey. We're out at the Torii Hunter press conference where the Twins just formally introduced their new right fielder. Phil, I want to talk to you about if and how he can help the team. There's a lot of talk about his defense, and then kind of the bat, what he's got left in that 39-year-old bat. What was your impression from Wednesday's press conference?
I thought Sid held on to the hug a little too long.
Sure did.
I thought that was maybe a little awkward.
That happened. And then the one with Torii, too. I mean, not just with me and you. That was
right. That
another
was,
strange
exactly.
moment.
Yeah. Maybe the grab from behind was
it got
a
weird
little aggressive.
In here. Yes.
I thought it was interesting because there's so much more information available now compared to when Torii Hunter was here last time around, going up to 2006-07. When it comes to evaluating players, defensive metrics are now out there that didn't exist in 2006 and 7.
Right.
And I think you and I are pretty big stat geeks, but even we would tell you that you can't just go based off defensive metric numbers and use them as gospel. But those do tell you that he's been one of the worst ranging defensive outfielders in baseball the last couple of years in Detroit. And so when he was asked about that, he kind of shot back and he said, well, the eye test is really the most important factor when it comes to measuring defense. And I think the truth lies somewhere in between. I don't think you can just look at defensive metrics and say, oh, he's for sure one of the 3 worst defensive outfielders in baseball. Just like I don't think you can go and scout one player in right field and then with your eyes be able to tell, well, is he above or below average when you compare him to 29 other right fielders? If he hits like he did last year at age 39, 38 into 39, 285, get on base a little bit, 17 homers, drive in some runs, and if he can just be better than Josh Willingham or Arcia in the outfield, then their outfield defense gets at least a little better, and they add a bat to a lineup that already scored the 7th most runs in baseball last year. So I think he adds value. The question is, how much value does he add? And it's going to be based on how much does he drop off at age 40 with the bat, and is he as bad as the metrics say he is defensively? I guess we'll find out.
So I look at the bat and say, great season a year ago. He still hits righties. He still hits lefties. Still gets on base a little bit and has some of that pop left that I think he can help the lineup. I definitely think he lengthens the lineup. I sort of look at it. I guess I don't know where you'd bat him, but I might hit him second.
That's where he's been hitting for the most part in
second
Detroit.
And fifth in Detroit, and I would hit him second behind Joe Mauer. That's just how I would.
So you'd lead off with Joe Mauer.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I don't know. I think Paul Molitor is going to be more progressive in terms of lineup construction.
I'm really curious to see how he does that. Yeah,
but you could honestly, as far as the number 1 and 2 slots, I'm with you. I think Mauer actually could hit leadoff, but he's not the prototypical fast leadoff hitter who's going to steal bases. You could put Brian Dozier in any of the first 3 spots, and I'd be okay with it. You could put Mauer in any of the first 3 spots, and I'd be okay with it. You could put Hunter in this 2 or the 3 hole. My guess is you start off with Danny Santana leading off. That's my guess. And then from there you go something Mauer, maybe Dozier batting third, and Hunter somewhere in a run-producing spot, either 5th or 6th. And some of it might depend on lefty-righty pitching matchups too.
Yeah, so the bat is helpful. I'm very skeptical about the glove, and I'm always skeptical when people challenge.
The glove or the legs?
Well, it's a little bit of both. I mean, I'm talking about the fielding. You know what I'm talking about. But, the range just seems to not be there for Hunter anymore. And that's the question, is how much of those metrics are we to believe? Yeah. And I'm just always skeptical when somebody Hunter's retort was that, what did you see? Have you seen a decline? And then challenge saying, anyone who believes in sabermetrics didn't play the game.
Well, that's ridiculous for a number of reasons, because there's a lot of people who've been in baseball a long time who've played the game, who have bought into new forms of evaluation.
And just because that stat geek or blogger, computer guy, reporter, whatever didn't play baseball at a high level. I did play baseball, just not at a very high level. I was terrible. Doesn't mean that we can't analyze and see some of these things and use these metrics. So I'm very curious to see how Hunter is in the field and how much they're going to play him in the field. Personally, I'd prefer to see him as a DH at this stage of his career.
But he's not going to DH because then where does Kenny Vargas go in the lineup? And then if Kenny Vargas is at first base, then does Joe Mauer DH? So to get Vargas, Hunter, and Mauer in the lineup on the same day, then obviously
it's a little bit of a weird fit for the Twins, I think. And at this stage of his career, I think you can still look though and say, well, it's a 1-year deal. What is the worst case scenario? That's how I always try to look at signings. What's the best case scenario? What is the worst case scenario? I don't see the worst case scenario as that damaging to the Twins.
I don't either. I think as far as contracts are concerned, too, you can focus on the $10.5 million and say, boy, that's a lot of money for a guy who's going to be 40 years old.
Sure.
But at the same time, if I'm in Terry Ryan's shoes, I would rather be signing players to short-term contracts and maybe pay them a little bit more in a 1 or 2 year chunk than going for, like, Ricky Nolasco, for instance. He was horrible last year. He had the worst ERA of any qualified starting pitcher, or at least in the bottom three.
Bring him back for $13 million next season, would you?
If you could redo it and say, we'll give you more money up front so we don't have to really be stuck with you when you're 34 years old.
That's the point.
On Hunter, when he bristled at the notion of, hey, these metrics are saying that you can't run anymore and your range is bad, I sort of, I get what he's saying, because he's been so good at what he does for so long.
Right.
And he was one of the best at center field for years. And somebody's trying to tell him in a way that he really doesn't understand, because he's not a front office guy. He's probably not even aware of some of the websites that other players are, like Fangraphs and whatnot. And someone's telling him, who doesn't play baseball, hey, this is why I looked at these numbers, and this is why you're not good at what you do anymore. And he's like, wait a second, screw you. I've been doing this for 20 years professionally. I've made a lot of money doing this. So I see why players are standoffish about that.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. That's the kind of sort of arrogance that you need to have to be a professional athlete. You get to that level in part because of that mentality. But I do think it's fair to question where he is defensively at this point in his career.
Yep. I think what you said, though, a couple minutes ago, worst case scenario, you've got yourself a guy behind the scenes who is going to add value off the field.
Yeah.
And if it's expensive for 1 year, let's say he turns into Derek Jeter on the field at age 40, and Derek Jeter was not good this past season.
Not worth playing.
And Derek Jeter was really good at age 38. Now, he had an injury in between, and Torii Hunter hasn't.
Right.
I think he puts up better numbers than Jeter did at 40, and he adds value behind the scenes. So overall, I think it's a good sign.
I'm fine with it. Take this for what it's worth, and then we'll get out of here. First player to contact Joe Mauer.
You blew it.
Dang it, I screwed up the punchline. The first player to contact Torii Hunter when he signed was Joe Mauer. They apparently called and had a phone conversation. I guess Aaron Hicks called too.
But he didn't pick up, or
I don't know.
Or did he get punched in the? Who's the first guy that's going to get punched in the face by Torii Hunter?
I don't know, and I know you can't quantify that stuff behind the scenes, so I really don't even like talking about it because I don't know how to analyze it. But I think that there is some value to be had in that, a clubhouse leader, and that's probably what Torii Hunter will be.
Sure. That's my value to 1,500. I provide nothing on the air, but it's all leadership behind the scenes.
Derek, this is what you do. When you're done with that video, just push this button. Just that one right there.